Hello everybody and welcome back. My name is Curseof and welcome back to another video. Today we are here to do a little speed duel battle city box discussion video. If anything looks different, I am trying using a different camera for video footage. So things might look slightly different. Hopefully it looks better and not worse, as I'm really trying to work out the kinks with my current camera. It's very, very old, and I'm going to try and upgrade that in the near future. But until then, we're going to try and rock out with this, just trying to do some different things here, and hopefully it all looks nice. But anyway, without further ado, we are here today to talk about what decks I think are going to be meta-relevant / competitive in the upcoming Battle City box format. So without further ado, let's get into it. Before we get into the video though, I do want to tell you guys to head down to the description right now. You guys will see a link to my Discord. If you go ahead and click on that link, you guys will find the ability to enter a tournament that I am hosting on November 28th. It is a tournament with the Battle City box legal. It is completely free entry. First place will get a Battle City box mailed to them, and top 4 will get free entry into one of my pay to enter events, meaning that you really have nothing to lose and you just get to enter this for a good bit of fun. And yeah, so what are you doing? Why are you wasting any time? Head down to the description and join the tournament. Okay, so, as many of you guys know, we have the Speed Duel Battle City box entire spoilers list. The box does not get released until the 26th, so we still have a few days until we actually get our hands on the box, at least for Europe. North America still has to wait until December 11th, which does kind of suck. But anyway, with all this information, and obviously online tournaments are going to take off as soon as the Battle City box is officially released anywhere, we're going to talk about what decks I consider to be potentially relevant in the upcoming format. And because I don't want to start off on anything too sour, we are going to start off with a brand new deck that I think is very, very competitive. That deck being XYZ. So if you guys watched my Is XYZ Dragon Cannon viable video, you guys would have remembered that me and Terramaster came to the conclusion that XYZ Dragon Cannon wasn't a viable deck. That was, of course, prior to us getting the Union combination skill that was revealed to be in the Speed Duel Battle City box. This skill allows you to send from your graveyard or field the fusion requirements for the XYZ Dragon Cannon or any of the other combinations like YZ, XZ, etc. And thus, we have super easy access to the XYZ Dragon Cannon. And what's so powerful about that is the fact that the XYZ Dragon Cannon has access to not once per turn spot removal, meaning it can sit there and pop every single card on your opponent's field if you have the resources in hand to allow it to do so, which is an extremely powerful thing to do. I mean, just being able to clear your opponent's entire board is absolutely absurd. Along with that, we have cards that can turbo out your pieces super quickly, like that of Union Hanger, which can easily get you a Y equipped with Z. Plus we have access to Foolish Burial at 3, both Hanger and Burial are at 3, to dump your copies of X, Y, or Z, whatever you may be missing. And with all this in mind, you get access to XYZ Dragon Cannon, crazy consistent. Absolutely absurd, and it's such a powerful boss monster. Now many of you might be thinking what a normal person would think at this point, but that doesn't necessarily make it broken deck. Like, they summon XYZ Dragon Cannon, what do you just book it, right? What's the big deal? They won't even get to pop their effect. Oh, yes, I am forgetting something. It's a skill summon. That's right. XYZ Dragon Cannon, obviously with the Union combination skill that summons it, is a skill summon. And you know what's so special about skill summons? You cannot respond to them. A skill is like your spell speed 4 effect. It does not offer your opponent to respond at all, and the only thing that's going to activate off of a skill would be trigger effects, meaning your opponent will guarantee special summon XYZ Dragon Cannon and will guarantee at least pop one card on your field. So even if you can respond with a Book of Moon afterwards, your opponent is still guaranteed one card off of your field off of their XYZ Dragon Cannon. This also means that you cannot floodgate it or anything like that. And yeah, the fact that you cannot respond to the skill summon is absolutely absurd. So not only do we have easy access into a 2800 beat stick, we have a guaranteed pop when it's summoned off of the skill. And that's just one of the things that makes the monster absolutely absurd. The next thing I want to talk about is the fact that Matt did give us Union Scramble as a trap card. What this does is allows you to recycle your pieces to the XYZ Dragon Cannon. Not simply even recycle, but gets you to special summon them all back onto the field, and then you can go into XYZ Dragon Cannon without using the skill. Yes, you get rid of your skill protection, but you now offer yourself the ability to deal damage, because the skill does stop you from dealing damage the turn you summon. So you have access into it super easily, multiple times. You have the option of skill summon protection, but no battle phase or no damage. You still get to attack monsters and kill them, or no skill summon protection, but you can deal damage. So you can literally decide if you require the OTK or if it's not necessary at that point in time, which is crazy. And then along with that, even if I'm able to actively pop the Union Scramble before you can use it, Union Scramble also allows you to recycle the pieces back to your hand for more discard fodder for XYZ Dragon Cannon and the such. So this deck has a lot of consistency with easy +2s off a hanger, gets access to XYZ Dragon Cannon super easily, and once it's summoned, you just plus off of your Union Scramble, resummon it multiple times, and yeah, it really just eats the resource game so easily. And then just out you in card economy, out you in overall power, and skill protection. It's pretty nuts. Going off into the next deck I'm going to talk about here, I'm going to go back to last format a little bit here and give you guys the bad news. The bad news is Inner Conflict is still going to be a crazy skill. I'm sure this doesn't surprise anyone. I mean, Inner Conflict is literally just a change of heart that you do not need to draw. You could be like, oh, well, it has restrictions, it's not as good as change of heart. But for every restriction it has a benefit. For example, you don't need to draw it, and you can't respond to it, like your opponent can't. So, okay, you have to pay half your life points and go ahead and not be able to attack with that monster that you take directly. But then it has two benefits that are way better than the downfalls. So, crazy card, but like I said, we all knew that. And along with that, we also have better targets for it. Not better than Jinzo necessarily, but more targets for it. We have Freed the Matchless General, Spell Canceller, Kaiser Glider, alongside Jinzo that we already had last format, so we can shut down spells and traps potentially, which is absurd. And then even after using your conflict skill, there's also now Soul Exchange, which you can make sort of a soul stun deck or a soul beat deck, or soul alongside Inner Conflict is pretty damn viable, because now you can run even more tribute monsters, which will make your Inner Conflict skill live more often, but they won't be dead because you also have your Soul Exchange to take advantage of them later on. Oh my god, Inner Conflict is absurd. Tribute monsters are crazy. We literally just have 2 floodgates in the format. And, yeah. It's still a nuts deck. So coming off of the nuts deck and going into another nuts deck from last format, but this one at least might see a little bit of diversity here. We're going to talk about the Twisted Personality decks, whether you're playing a TP Warrior build or a TP stall / burn / stun sort of variant. Twisted Personality is a crazy skill, and it's still going to see a lot of play. There is no doubt in my mind. You're going to see it potentially still in Warrior decks. You're going to see Nightmare Wheel still played. You're going to see this card, or this skill, show up a lot here, as it is probably one of the best generic skills in the entire game currently. So yeah, it's pretty easily going to show up here. And the Warrior Toolbox, by the way, I forgot to mention this about your conflict here, has just gotten better. We now have Rhoda and Exiled Force, both at 3. So you have Rhoda to search all your warriors, basically, except for Gaia. And then you have Exiled Force to just out anything. So Yeah. Yeah. Nice buffs. Going into another deck that I am super psyched about, that being the Spellproof Armor deck. I think Spellproof Armor is going to be absolutely killer in this upcoming format. So starting off, Spellproof Armor got a bunch of phenomenal support. For example, we have your Ally of Justice Colossalus, which is literally just a 2300 beat stick that is immune to spells that you can just normal summon. Wow, that's amazing. Goodbye, Gaia. You have a skill that hinders your monsters but gives them piercing. Yeah, well, my skill just says, hey, I can summon a 2300 beat stick too, and my monster's immune to spells. Along with that, we have even easier access into Jinzo off of something like Soul Exchange now, as I did mention that prior to. So you get your Trap Floodgate on the field way more consistently. We also have another viable Monarch monster in your in your Blowback Dragon, and Twin Barrel Dragon also exists. Along with that, all these machines that I did just mention are Darks, so they all work in a Spellproof Armor Dark variant using a lore. And what I think is going to make this deck the craziest is the fact that we're in such a spell staple meta. We have Shrink, we have Offerings, we have Book. These are going to show up super often, and all of your monsters are immune to all of these spells. So we literally do not have to worry about any removal. I also forgot, Soul Exchange is another super relevant spell to bring up here. But you don't have to worry about any of this removal, because all your monsters are immune to spell effects, so none of these spell cards are going to even affect your monsters that you're summoning, and then you can run all these staple spells, not worry about your Jinzo floodgating them, and still take advantage of them yourself. It's absolutely absurd, and yeah, it's definitely going to be a killer deck in the upcoming format. So the next deck I want to mention is the Moth deck. And when I say Moth deck, I could mean Moth Warrior, Dark Moth, or any Moth deck really, because Moth is an engine, and that is the crazy thing about this. It's an engine that pluses you 2 and gets you a 3500 beat stick on the board. So if you can just find a good generic archetype and or toolbox of monsters, and then splash the Moth engine in it, you probably have a pretty solid deck. I mean, it is skill summon, it is easy removal, it is a +2, and you really just can't go wrong with the Moth engine. Do I think the Moth engine is going to be as oppressive as prior to? No, definitely not, especially with things like Book to dodge Parasite, and Offerings still exist to dodge Parasite, plus we have Shrinks to drop down those Moths substantially. Along with that, Spellproof Armor I think is going to be extremely meta, which will also hinder how good Moth is. But regardless, the Moth engine is still absurd. The Parasite engine plus Cocoon is still absurd. And I think it's definitely going to show up at bare minimum tier 3. At bare minimum Rogue, maybe tier 3. It's going to be in one of those slots, I would assume. As last format, it did drop down to like the end of tier 2. So it's only going to get lower as we're getting more answers and more decks that are inherently counters become better. So yeah, Moth will still exist, still definitely a good deck to watch out for, but it has a lot of counters. Also Cosmic Cyclops, didn't mention that either. The next deck I want to mention here is PacMan. Yeah, PacMan. Pure Advantage Camels, I guess. Anyway, this is a very solid control deck for this format. Basically, you have your Scarabs, you have your Locusts, and you have your Camels. All monsters that can flip and reset themselves and allow you to plus off of their effects. Along with this, we can also run it alongside something like TP to gain extra counters to control the board even better. Along with that, we've also gotten a lot of protection for your monsters here, as the deck's gonna thrive off of being able to protect your monsters and then plus off of them. So we have things like Negate Attack, Wabaku, Nightmare Wheel, Book of Moon, Offerings to the Doomed, what else is there? Floodgate Trap Hole. We have a bunch of Gentlemander, Sphere Kuriboh. We have a bunch of cards that protect your monsters from being killed, allowing you to take advantage of your flip effects and such. Meaning, having access to these cards is going to be pretty crazy, and I think you can make a very, very solid control deck out of this. Just control their board, poke them slowly, gain counters every time you do, and then control their hand. You really can't go wrong with this deck. I think it's going to be decently powerful, maybe a tier 2, tier 3 deck in the upcoming form. Next, I'm going to mention Magnet Warriors. I think Magnet Warriors are going to be probably a rogue deck, but they could be tier 3. Where they suffer is the fact that your amount of Valkyrions you have access to is equivalent to the amount you run in your deck. And overall, Valkyrion is not a phenomenal draw, especially since you can just search it. So you're running more brick/dead cards, but it allows you to access Valkyrion more often than prior to. But along with that is a deck that can go, it usually goes +2 on its very, very first turn, has access to an easy 3500 beat stick, and is able to recycle very, very easily with the magnet conversion trap card. I think that's what it's called. It'll be on the screen anyway for you guys. So you get access to your monsters over and over again. It recycles a lot like the XYZ deck does, but doesn't offer skill summon, and the boss monster doesn't have a relevant effect really. So it's very, very powerful. It swarms the field. It can OTK consistently, but its monsters are still susceptible to a lot of card effects. It can be floodgated. It can be booked and etc. It doesn't have that skill protection, and yeah, basically because of that, it's not as powerful as the XYZ deck, but definitely has some potential going into this upcoming format. And the last two decks I want to mention here today are two decks that kind of do the same thing, but slightly different. That being the Beast Warrior deck and the Gaia deck. I think both these are going to go up in overall playability as Moth is dropping down. One of Gaia's biggest issues was the fact that everyone had access to Perfectly Ultimate Great Moth, and if people were summoning Gaia as an attack position, you're just giving your opponent Parasite fodder, which is a huge, huge issue. But without Moth being as prevalent as it was, I think Gaia can definitely help shine, especially with the new, I think it's called like Poison Sword or something like that. And just when you attack with Gaia, as long as you only have one monster, you can double its attack. Plus just going plus off Gaia and just hand trapping your opponent, having access to a bunch more quick play spells is super, super relevant for this format here. Why Phantom Beast or Beast Warrior is basically the same thing. You have your Phantom Beast Wildhorn and your Enraged Battle Axe will still offer piercing, similarly to Gaia. Where this deck does slightly better than Gaia is the fact that it has back row, and it has No More Misses Nice Mai to pop your opponent's back row, taking advantage of that piercing. Well, Gaia doesn't have back row and doesn't have as easy back row removal, but has bigger beat sticks and actually pluses off of its piercing effect by drawing. So Gaia sees more cards and has bigger bodies. Well, Beast Warrior pops back row and has their own back row. So you could argue for either. It's really, really hard to tell which one is necessarily better. Maybe Phantom Beast because they have access to their own back row, but maybe Gaia just because it handles what the deck's both supposed to do, be beat down decks better because it just has bigger monsters. So very hard to say, but I think both are going to be probably rogue decks in the upcoming format and do have the potential to top. So relevant decks to look into for sure. And with that, we have covered all the decks that I want to talk about, decks that I think are going to be relevant in the upcoming format. I hope this video is very, very informative for you guys, and I hope this video helps you guys come up with a potential deck to run in my FFA event that is coming up on November 28th. If you're not already signed up, highly recommend doing so. It is an all-in-one day event, 40-minute rounds, starting at 2 p.m. EST. If you guys aren't already signed up, head over to my Discord, and please do so. I'd love to see more of you guys there. But anyway, that's a wrap, guys. I'll catch you guys all, if not tomorrow, the following day for another video. Peace.